Hey, is this any better? Is this any better now? So somebody had struck it and said that it was scam, spam, deceptive. And so, in the middle of me doing that, they went ahead and deleted my with a video in the middle of me recording it. That's kind of fishy. Are you still here? Oh, okay. I thought that was very fishy about all that because I thought it was very important whenever I find a link and I'm talking about a story. I usually like leaving some links so that people can go to later on if they wanna, because I want to show the proof behind what I am saying. And I guess, they don't like that. Yeah, but the thing about it is, when you go like this and you're wanting to know people wanting to know more and more stories about it, and I was like, "Well, there's a lot of different things out there. There's a lot of podcasts, a lot of, um, videos on that story." I thought it was important. Yeah, it's out there anyway. Yeah, but it's not out there where people say what I had said, try to get out there. And I hope some people become more aware on that Fred and uh, Rosemary case. Them poor kids. And even to know, that even if the boys did not get essayed in any way, the male, man, it was still beaten, abused. That family were very sadistic. Yes. Did they did they say that one of the daughters when she was at school she would not dress out or anything? Or one of the kids would not dress out at all because of the bruises and stuff that happened. Dress out in PE. That's kind of normal, when you feel like you got to protect them and they tell you to remain silent or else. And they already know that they already harmed these other people. I'm sure they already knew about it. They were living scared. Hello. Somebody else came in too. Hope you're doing good. I'm Peter Tobin. I guess next time when I do a thing, I will go ahead and, basically show my video where I'm finding it out without leaving the links. You know what I'm saying? So that would probably be what I have to do because that's what they had said. So they didn't like the fact about that. I'm going to go ahead and write that name down as well. Peter Tobin. Hey, Victoria. Hope you're doing well. Doing a live a while ago, and I got basically, well, they didn't strike me yet. They said that they give me a warning. but I had put links in this description, things for people to be able to go to validate what I had said. Well, I got struck for that, and they deleted my thing in the middle of me doing it. Barbara Spencer. Okay, I'm writing that name down too. Is she from the UK also? Yeah, Victoria. It was horrible. They do got a lot of to listen to they're at Netflix. Yeah, I'm on the naughty step. But whenever I did term papers in college and everything, that they always say make sure to provide your links. If you're going to talk about something, you need to provide your links. So I was taught that in college. So I was only doing what I was taught, in college. So I think, wow. Well, she's from the USA. Okay, right. So, I always thought it was very important also for me to put the links to the things where I found pertinent information for people to click on to find out more stuff for people that's been trafficked or sexually abused. Or I thought that was very imperative, but it looks like I could get in trouble for doing that. But we're supposed to provide information to help others, and if we can't provide that information, I guess we're kind of like screwed in some ways. And a lot of people's got the World Wide Web, but it's always good to find someone that knows a lot of. We'll find whatever we can find. See, that's what I was doing. I put in links, but now I got kind of like reprimanded for that. And see, that ain't really baiting anyone because it's just letting people know, like, you could go there and that's where I saw it. Now that video that I was showing, I did not say where I said on the video where I had got it from as we were watching us at Amazon Prime, but I did not put the link down in the thing because I did not think that it would show anyway. But I said you could go to Amazon and they got videos as well as which I showed earlier about Netflix. That was a bad case, Victoria. If you ever look into it, it's Fred and Rose. Well, Fred. Uh, I'm thinking, forgetting the last word right at the moment. So check out what YouTube wants you to record. Okay. They didn't say, anything about what I was showing was bad. You know what I mean? They just said that basically what I was when I looked it up at West. Yes, thank you. Fred and Rosemary West. And like I said, they had some. They got a movie over. at Netflix, if anybody's got Netflix as well. Those people are crazy, you know. They're not even people. They're not even humans. We call them. I'm gonna look at. I'm gonna look at what the name of it is. Okay, it's. They lived in a real story, and it was. And they really did a lot of murder. Their own kids and other people as well. Guess I could go ahead and scream. Yeah, maybe that's probably what it was. I'll go ahead and share my screen on what basically about these people. It's like the Fred and Rose West documentary, Netflix, Fred and Rose West. In 1994, Howard soon began investigating the case of serial murder in an English cathedral city. A married couple, Fred and Rose West, had killed at least 12 women and girls, including their own daughter, or let's say daughters. Fred and Rose cut their victims up and buried the remains of 9 bodies under their house at 25 Cromwell Street in Gloucester, where the Wests continued to live undetected for decades. Fred West left his wife Rosemary, and both Fred and Rose killed at least 12 victims. All young women became two of the most infamous English serial killers. Fred and Rose both assaulted various women and sexually abused their kids, even murdering two of their daughters. Fred escaped conviction by hanging himself while in custody. Rose was sentenced to prison for the rest of her life, taking the full brunt of the couple's sadistic crimes. There's Frederick Walter Stephen West, born in Markle to mother Daisy and father Walter. Fred had siblings named John and Doug. In 58, he had a motorcycle accident. So his family says after that he was prone to fits of rage. So I guess they're trying to say that the motorcycle accident kind of changed his demeanor. 2 years later, he fell off a fire escape ladder at a youth club, leaving him unconscious for a day. Yeah, another head injury. When West was 21 years old, he became reacquainted with former girlfriend Catherine Costello, who worked as a prostitute using the name Rena. Catherine was pregnant when she married Fred. They married in 62 when I was just a couple months old. Well, just a month old. Tremaine was born half caste. So Fred and Catherine claimed their families that the baby died during childbirth and they adopted. In 64, Anne Marie was born. This time she was Fred and Catherine's child. Fred worked as an ice cream van driver. Fred ran over a 4-year-old boy on November the 4th, 1965, either accidentally or on purpose. Only Fred would know. Family, along with Isa McNeil, the children's nanny, and Catherine's mate, Annie McFall, moved to Lakeshire Caravan Park, Bishop's Cleeve, Gloucestershire. At the end of 65, Costello and McNeil moved back to Scotland to escape Fred. McFall remained to look after the kids and became infatuated with Fred. Little did McFall know that West was having an affair with another woman named Rosemary Pauline Letts. Catherine would come back to visit the girls every few months. Paul, who was 8 months pregnant with Fred's child, suddenly disappeared. Her remains were found in a field near where they lived at the time in September 67. Catherine moved back on with Fred, but left a year later, leaving the kids with Fred. And they happened to be caught on February 24th, 1994, after raping and abusing Louise for several days, Rose's 13-year-old daughter ultimately confided in a close friend, which family led to Fred and Rose's, which finally led to Fred and Rose's arrest. So when it was going on further down, and I was trying to find what the name of that podcast was. Um, and it says where are they now? True story. Where are they now? Okay. It's hard to say, but I want to show you a picture. Well, I don't think I got it on this computer. I got it on my other one, so won't be able to share y'all. But dang, she looks so much like that lady. A lot of similarities. It is so scary. It goes, she just going on up and Rose met Fred when she was just 15 years old. He was 12 years her senior and had two young daughters, which when Fred was in jail, Rose ended up killing 8-year-old Charmaine. Okay, see, like the Sky announces new crime documentary Fred West, the Glasgow Girls. So there's the timeline. I'll read the timeline again. Fred and Rose West timeline. 1941, Fred West was born. 1953, Rosemary Letts was born. November 1958, Fred is injured in a motorcycle accident in a coma for 7 days and is said to be prone to violent outbursts after his recovery. Fred's first court appearance, along with his friend Brian Hill, pleads guilty to stealing a gold watch strap and two cigarette cases. They are both fined. That's April 61. In June 61, Fred arrested on suspicion of child molestation after a 13-year-old local girl is discovered to be pregnant by her GP. It becomes clear that Fred had sex with her on several occasions. November 61, Fred's first trial for sexual abuse. He appears at Herefordshire Assizes, charged with sexual molestation. The case collapses when a girl refuses to give evidence and Fred walks free. November 65, Fred kills a 4-year-old boy while driving an ice cream van. In 68, Fred and Rosemary Letts meet on her 15th birthday. In 69, Rosemary moves in with Fred. In October 1970, Rose and Fred's first child, Heather Ann West, is born. In January 72, Fred and Rose West get married. In June 72, the West's second child, May, is born. January 73, both Fred and Rose are convicted of the sexual assault of their nanny, Carolyn Roberts, who escapes to tell the police. The couple are issued with fines. That's where, when I was talking about earlier, where the police had told her it's best just to drop it to a lesser crime instead of the rape. That's BS, total BS. That is total BS. Okay. And then February 1994, the Cromwell Street search begins following the disappearance of their daughter Heather. Police are granted a search warrant and begin to excavate the West Garden. March 94, Frey confesses to murdering 9 women. January 95, Fred dies by suicide while incarcerated at Winson Green Prison. What we read earlier, it was January the 1st. I was upset at first about him not facing judgment, not going to in front of the courts, that he was a coward and all this because he did not serve. But then knowing that it was January the 1st, I said, Happy New Year, everyone. Fred's dead. So I had a better look out on it like that. November 1995, Rose West is found guilty of 10 murders and imprisoned for life. Where is Rose West now? Rose West, age 67, is now an inmate at HM Prison, New Hall, Flockton, West Yorkshire, England. Is said to have had a string of affairs with fellow inmates since being incarcerated in 95. Fred died by suicide in prison the same year while awaiting trial. When is Rose West reopened on? Episode of the documentary airs on ITV September 15th at 9, which was a couple years ago. They also have, you can buy Leo Goatley's Understand Rose, Fred and Rose West at Amazon. They got books and out there. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm going to see, and of course, there's YouTube, different things like this. Born Able, where to watch and stream. A lot of different areas here. There's Fred West, How to Watch Original 2019 Trevor. Forthcoming documentary about serial killers Fred and Rosemary West. The film is a follow up of the 2019 documentary. What? Yeah, so it goes on down, and the House of Horrors, it just goes on down. Um, it's got a lot of things where you would not believe how far they were so sadistic. Um, and he admitted to killing one of his daughters, and he thought that that was good enough to the police. He thought that the police would not go and do a search, and the police started digging up, and they found three different hip bones. So they knew there had to be more than one body, and so they continued to dig. And Fred was like, "Why are you digging? I basically, said I did it. Why can't you leave it at that? Why can't you just leave it alone?" It's a good thing that the police continue to probe. It's a good thing the police continue to dig. And I want to thank Jackie for bringing this case up to my attention where I could look it up and read about it and talk about it. Yeah, I tried to look up, I say news clips, and but as far as it did not like me doing, I guess that I see there's how they were caught. Fred met Rhodes, so there's a lot of different uh, things out there. A lot of different videos, a lot of different podcasts, and they're saying that there are probably even more than the 12 because he does not remember numbers. I guess these were their children right here: Charmaine Carol West and Marie West. Stephen West. Well, Charmaine, that's where Rose had killed her while the daddy was in jail, while he was in prison, and dismembered her. Stephen West, Heather Ann West, and Mae West. Yeah, they put concrete on top of the body, on top of the bodies. Excuse me. Okay, let me go back to the this other original one. one that I had showed. Fred West, who are Fred and Rosemary West, and what did they do? The timeline of their murders, and why are they linked to the death of Mary Best home? Rosemary West became the most notorious female mass killer in Britain since Myra Henley, murder of 10 young girls and women. With her husband Fred West, Rose after being found guilty of 10 murders at her trial at West Winchester Crown Court. Trial judge Mr. Justice Mantell told West he hoped she would never be released when the jury found her guilty of murdering her eldest daughter, Heather, age 16, stepdaughter, Charmaine, age 8, her husband, Fred's pregnant lover, Shirley Ann Robinson, 18, Linda Go, age 19, Carol Ann Cooper, 15, Lucy Partington, age 21, Therese Siegel-Thaler, 21, Shirley Hubbard, age 15, Juanita Mott, 18, and Allison Chambers, age 17. Rosemary's builder husband, Fred West, hanged himself in his remand cell at Winston Green Jail, Birmingham, on New Year's Day, 1995, before facing trial. He was accused jointly on the 10 counts and alone faced further charges alleging the murder of his first wife, Catherine Costello, age 26, and girlfriend, Ann McFall, age 18. The House of Horrors at 25 Cromwell Street, Gloucester, became one of the most notorious addresses in the country after police discovered the bodies of 9 women, including their daughter Heather, buried in a cellar and garden at the terraced house. Their discoveries destroyed the facade of normality which the West had cunningly projected for so long and exposed the tale of sexual obsession, promiscuity, torture, and sadism. It was a chance conversation between a group of school children and a beat Bobby, which is a street cop, in a street in Gloucester that started the investigation in 92. The West horrifying trail of murder, abduction, sexual torture, and depravity of, and was eventually uncovered because of the tenacity of the detective constable Hazel Savage. She heard about a West family joke with the children told to social which the children told social workers that the couple's missing 16-year-old daughter Heather was under the patio. Look at this sicko. Look at him. The more I look at him, it was not all that bad looking dude, but like I said, looks can be deceiving. Detective Con Savage eventually convinced senior officers of the possibility that the joke was not merely black humor, but a macabre veil for a grim truth that was uncovered in February of 1994. They were to find themselves ranked among the cruelest and most depraved murderers of the century, a pair whose grotesque sexual appetites cost the lives of 10 young women, including their own child, was murdered to ensure her silence. Much of the events which were to follow could be explained by their obsession with sex. Also binding the pair together was Charmaine's murder, Fred West's first wife's daughter. That knowledge and their increasingly bizarre sexual activities were to end the lives of 9 other young women and damage the lives of an unknown number. But while killing many victims, the couple were also indulging in bizarre sexual practices with vulnerable young people they befriended and lured into their home. Lodgers told how Rosemary West worked as a prostitute. She entertained men, often more than one at a time, in Rose's room, a ground floor room outside which was a red light to warn the children to keep out when their mother was busy. The final victim The final victim is the one whose death demonstrates that there was no depths of evil which Fred and Rosemary West were not prepared to plummet to. The West eldest daughter, Heather, was a 16-year-old who just finished her GCSE examination in 1987. Fred West admitted killing his daughter when he appeared in Gloucester Magistrates Court after her body was found. It was Heather's disappearance which eventually led police 7 years later to the drab inner city house and the launch of the Marathon investigation. A search warrant brought police diggers to the back garden, and Heather's remains were the first to be uncovered. Teams of police diggers virtually dismantled the lower parts of the house and kept finding more bodies. The trail was to lead them to nearby Midland Road and on to much marked Fred West's birthplace, where the fields of Kipley gave up the bodies of his first wife, Catherine, Nanny Ann McFall, and her unborn baby. Fred West was found hanged in a cell at Winson Green Prison in Birmingham on New Year's Day, 1995. Happy New Year! He had escaped justice, and his wife was left to face the courts and the world alone. Right here is what says their births of the two, and I don't want to say happy birthday to them, whatever. 1962, Fred West marries Catherine Rena Costello in Ledbury. 63, May 22nd, Charmaine West, born Rena West. Father's details not listed on the birth certificate. And July 6th, 64, Anne Marie West, born Rena and Fred West. August 1st, 66, a child care officer visited West was told Nanny Annie McFall had returned to Glasgow. In January 68, 15-year-old Mary Bastholm, who worked at the Pop-In Cafe in Gloucester, was last seen alive at a bus stop on Bristol Road in the city. 69 of November, Rena West leaves her husband for the last time. In November, shortly after her 16th birthday, Rosemary Letts leaves her parents' home in Bishop's Cleeve near Cheltenham to live with Fred West. In 1970, in July, Fred West, Rosemary Letts, and Anne Marie and Charmaine moved to 25 Midland Road in Gloucester. October 17th, Heather West, born to Rose Letts and Fred West. In 71, June, Rosemary Letts murders Charmaine West at 25 Midland Road while Fred West is in prison. When he is released, he buries her body at the property. In 1972, January 29th, Fred West and Rosemary Letts marry in Gloucester. And the West family moved from Midland Road to 25 Cromwell Street. June 1987, Fred and Rosemary West murdered Heather West at 25 Cromwell Street. February 23rd, 94, Gloucester magistrates give police warrant to search rear garden at 25 Cromwell Street. On the 25th, Fred and Rosemary West arrested on suspicion of murdering their daughter Heather. On the 26th, Fred and Rosemary West arrested on suspicion of murdering Shirley Ann Robinson and an unnamed woman. The first body, Heather's, is discovered in the garden. February 27th, Rosemary West released on police bail. Can you believe that they gave her bail? Can y'all believe that? February 28th, Fred West appears in court charged with murdering Heather. Police find second and third bodies, Allison Chambers and Shirley Robinson in the garden. Plus, what we had read earlier, too, remember, Jackie, where the police actually were calling in into the brothel that and having sex with Rose also. The March 5th ground penetrating radar used for the first time gives positive readings. Fourth and fifth bodies Therese Singer Thaler and Shirley Hubbard found in the basement. On March the 6th, sixth body, Lucy Partington, found in the basement. March the 7th, 7th, 8th, and ninth bodies, Anita Mott, Indigo, and Carol Ann Cooper, found in cellar and bathroom areas. March the 10th, Fred West in court charged with 5 murders. Police appeal for missing youngsters to contact their homes. March the 29th, police start digging at Letterbox Field in Kempley. April the 10th, 10th body, Fred West's first wife, Catherine, found at Letterbox Field after 13 days of digging. Exactly. April 13th, digging starts at Finger Post Field in Kempley. April 24th, Rosemary West charged jointly with Fred West with murdering Lily Go. April, April 25th, police start searching 25 Midland Road in Gloucester. And April 28th, search at 25 Cromwell Street ends after 55 days. May the 4th, 11th body, 8-year-old Charmaine West found at 25 Midland Road. June the 7th, 12th body, Nanny Ann McFall, and bones of her unborn baby found at Finger Post Field after 56-day search. July the 4th, Fred West appears at Gloucester Magistrate Courts on the 12th murder charge. In 95, January the 1st, Fred West found hanged in his cell at Winson Green Prison, Birmingham. January 13th, Rosemary West charged with murdering her stepdaughter Charmaine. 10th charge against her. October the 3rd, trial of Rosemary West on 10 murder charges begins. And on November 22nd, Rosemary West found guilty of 10 murders. Trial judge sentences her to life in prison and warns it is likely she will never be released from prison. In 96, a March Rosemary West appeal against conviction rejected by the Court of Appeal. So you see, she not even, let's see, when you look at this, in 95 is when basically she was found guilty or whatever. In 1996, she tried to appeal her conviction. In 97, July, Home Secretary charges Rosemary West's sentence to a whole life tariff. Woohoo! In 2012, January, in response to a public petition, police say that there is no evidence Mary Bastholm was buried at the side of the cafe in Southwest Street, Gloucester. May 11, 2021, police began searching the site of the cafe in Southgate Street after receiving information from a TV production company that Mary Bastholm's body may be buried there. On May the 17th, police find possible evidence of human remains and announce an excavation of the cellar will begin. But they don't have any further stuff past that as to say whether or not, yeah, they did the excavation and stuff, but it's like, okay, where, you know, wow. I thought it was showing the page, but I guess it wasn't. I guess it stopped. These were sickos. Absolutely true sickos. As y'all could do, y'all could go, and do. There's a lot of podcasts about this, and there's other stories on here too. It goes really in depth. It's crazy. It is vile. It is sick. Like I said, like somebody said earlier that they're not human. I said, y'all can tell me what y'all want me to call them as long as it's not doesn't do badly. I don't mind calling it that because they're inhumane. Yeah, I can see that. You don't deserve to be out. And one, I know that Rosemary Letts was the mother. I mean, Rosemary Letts was born in northern Devon to William Andrew Bill Letts and Daisy Gwendolyn Fuller. After a difficult pregnancy, she was the fifth of seven children born into a poor family. And I had, okay, and I'm going to open up this page and show what her mother says. Rose West's mother reveals that her daughter was happy with Fred West and previously unheard recordings and even warned her parents capable of murder. Daisy Letts was in the 70s when saw police digging up daughter's garden in 94. Told Rose would rock herself so vigorously when baby her pram would move. Speaking of Fred, Rose said, "There's nothing he wouldn't do," including murder. Rose West's mother had revealed her daughter was happy with Fred West and once warned her there's nothing he wouldn't do, including murder. In February 1980s, and living alone, Rose turned on the TV one afternoon to see the police digging up the garden of her daughter's family home with serial killer Fred West in Gloucester, where they were. Okay, hold on a minute. Okay, that's not that. Okay, so I'm hoping that would be the story. Feature on episode 5 of the podcast Unheard, the Fred and Rose West tapes released today were have revealed more about Rose's childhood and perhaps some early warning signs of the woman she became. By the age of nearly 17, Rose had given birth to a first daughter, Heather. Left her pregnant when she came home. Soon after that, there was a sudden bang, said Daisy. Fred comes in the back door, says to Rose, "Come on, Rosie, you know what we've got between us." Excuse me. It said Rose West's mother, Daisy Letts from the UK, has revealed her daughter would cry every time she visited her in the mid 70s. There's other sadistic. But so the thing is, you can't just blame him because while he was in jail, she murdered the 8-year-old girl. So you cannot just blame him for it. Daisy told how Rose would say her husband Fred West was working every time she visited. She continued, and Rosie, she never sort of talked a lot. She never made a conversation. She turned to her father who stood there, and Fred stood at the back door. Hold on a minute. She said, "You don't know him." Hold on, I'm doing a live. Somebody brought a prescription for a neighbor, and we're not friends with her no more. Um, she said, "You don't know him. There's nothing he wouldn't do," she said, including murder. Well, the chilling words rang out like a warning now. Daisy thought Rose was just overwrought. In fact, Fred had already murdered. Going back to the early years, Rose had a seemingly joyless childhood. lacking the small pleasures most families take for granted. She was a model baby, explained Daisy. She was lovely. She never cried. She would play in her pram for hours. Daisy, who has enough photos of her family in her house now, confirmed. Baby Rose rocked herself so vigorously she would move her pram across the floor, but admitted she never asked the doctor about it, as she thought it was a habit. However, rhythmic movement disorder can be an indication of developmental problems, though there's no medical evidence that was the case for Rose. The home of serial killers Fred and Rosemary West, where several of their victims' bodies were found. Okay. Police removing evidence from 25 Cromwell Street in Gloucester following the murders in 94. In the podcast, Daisy also remembered visiting her daughter in the mid-70s with her husband, Fred West. She told how she knew her daughter had been crying before most of her visits in the mid-70s, but added she would never tell her why. Dad used to say, "We'll go and see if she's all right," said Daisy. We used to go over there. Most of the time she'd been crying, but she never would tell us what was wrong. Her eyes were always red, and you could see she'd been crying. Dad used to say to me, "I like to know what's going on." We used to say, "Where's Fred?" And every time we'd ask where Fred was, she would say, "He's working." Dad used to say to me, "He's not working at this time of night." When the interviewer suggested Rose wasn't happy with Fred because she tried to leave him and she was crying, Daisy jumped in and continued. And said West, who regularly took on lodgers in the property, which was also home to 10 of their children. To supplement their income, Rose would solicit to both men and women in one of the upstairs bedrooms, where Fred would watch through peepholes. Rose Wetter, 65, was convicted of 10 murders and one of the one of a very few female prisoners serving a whole life term. We got to also remember, it says right there that Mary Basson's remains never been found. But one thing we got to remember also is what we had earlier is that Fred would video record it and then show his other kids, or show his kids the sexual stuff that was going on. It's like this. This is the funny thing. I can't make out whether it was just her way or whether she didn't want us to know she wasn't happy. I don't know. As time went by, the later years, she seemed happier. She would say she was happy. I mean, with someone who was involved and someone like that say, "I'm happy, Mom," that's how she said it to me. Daisy also recalled the final time the West family came to visit in the early 90s. There was one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. There's 8 of them without Fred and her. She explained. I just made tea and cut and made some sandwiches, and then they went after that. She continued. I just asked her if she heard from Heather. She turned away and walked across the room, and she said, "No, she's off with her cronies." Okay. I wanted to go ahead and still get this out there again because of it messed up. This isn't about political. This is about other things. So goodbye to whoever you just were. We are here about getting the facts straight about sexual stuff, and we need to just get on with this and quit trying to think of avenues where we do not get our stories told. We don't speak out. We will speak out, and we will get the word out. I will not remain silent. We'll continue to talk. And I want to thank y'all for being here. And is there anything y'all would like to discuss? before we go? Yeah, Rose had a lot of sexy time. Thank you so much too. I appreciate you. Know you're gonna be tired now since we did that long live a while ago, and so I know you got to be tired, and but I appreciate you, and I'll look up these other names and see what's going on with that. Peace to y'all. God bless.